maybe get some testimony or bring a trainer in for something? Maybe a dog that was trained that maybe had an incident?
So when we file a lawsuit, we send what's called interrogatories and requests for production of documents. Interrogatories are questions, and those questions ask about training and obedience school. And if there was a trainer, we want to know that trainer's name, right? We want the phone number, the contact information. If there's paperwork from any certifications or whatever, we want all of that. We want all of that information. And so, yeah, in cases like that, we would, number one, want to know anybody that's trained or handled or dealt with the dog. We're going to talk to all of the neighbors, all the people around, to see if anybody's had any issue with the dog. We'll send the PI out to question all the neighbors. And then we're going to do open records requests with, in the city and the county where the dog has actually been living and has been housed, because we want to know if there's been any complaints to animal control that they've had to come out about that animal or about that dog owner before. And if we go to trial, we're also more than likely going to bring an outside expert that talks about handling and training a dog, so they can explain to a jury that, no, that's not the way you do it. This is the way you do it.
Gotcha. Whoa. Some of this I didn't know, that you would have to go in like a PI to ask your neighbors. Whew.
Oh yeah.
So
we want to talk to all the neighbors, because sometimes you'll have a dog. It's that 80s mentality, right? This dog has been running around scaring everybody. Mm-hmm. Folks know that Miss Mary's got a bad dog down the street, but nobody's called animal control, right? They just kind of ignore it and avoid Miss Mary's dog. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so if Miss Mary's dog bites my client or mauls my client or throws my client down in the street, and I send an open records request or freedom of information request to animal control, it looks like the dog has been a good dog and it was just a one-time incident. And so it's difficult for me to prove that Miss Mary was negligent in the way that she managed her dog, right?
Right.
However, if the neighbors are like, nah, like that's a bad dog. That dog chases my children out of the yard. Then everybody my PI talks to that says that is going to get a subpoena and is going to be deposed, going to have to be subject to deposition, and that's evidence.
Okay, so how extensive does it have to get? Because most of the stuff the scenarios you gave, serious injuries.
Yeah.
What if it's just a 60-pound dog might have bit an adult, your neighbor or something? How usually does that go? Do people prosecute for that type of stuff normally?
Absolutely. It all depends on. So our cases are driven by damages, right?
Damages, okay.
And you can be attacked by a big dog, right? And the dog has some restraint, and it just be a nip. In which case, I'm not really that interested in fooling with the case, because we're going to spend a lot of time and energy, and you've got $3,000-4,000 in medical bills, which means your recovery is going to be maybe $10,000 or something like that, split between me and you. I'm hustling backwards, right?
Right.
I'm not doing that,
right.
But you could have a little dog, and I have a case like this that we just settled for about $100,000 probably a couple of months ago, where a little ankle dog came out and bit my client, but didn't have restraint, and really kind of got teeth into my client. My client ended up having, around her ankle, my client ended up having nerve damage, and I think, as a matter of fact, the settlement was for $250,000. It was max policy limit, and it would have been more, but they didn't have any more. That was all the insurance they had, and the individual wasn't independently wealthy, and there was no reason going after them because there was nothing to get. Right? You sue somebody with no money, you're not going to get anything. So we settled the case for $250,000. But that case was worth a lot of money, even though it was a little bitty dog, because that dog, bit into my client and gave my client permanent nerve damage in her leg. And so recovery is driven by damages. We have cases sometimes where the nerve damage, isn't permanent, or we don't have any nerve damage at all, but we have permanent scars. Mm-hmm. Right. And so on cases in particular where you'll see like young children or young ladies that are bitten, on their thigh or their ankle or their calf area, and they've got a bad permanent scar that's going to be on the back of their leg for the rest of their life, both from the bite and the surgery that they may have had to have well, that's going to be worth significant money, because now I've got a young woman that for the rest of her life, every time she wears, a short dress or a short skirt, she's, her and the rest of the world are going to be reminded of what happened to her.
Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to put you out of business. Hey guys, if you need raw dog food anywhere in the United States, be sure to visit our friends over at TexasTripe.com.